What I was saying was I told you that we weren't going to take Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter did not fit. And one thing that you said that you saw over the weekend, over and over and over, in every Brad Holmes press conference, because no, this is Brad Holmes' time to shine. We didn't see Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell gets he gets the training camp. He get all that. Brad Campbell said, these guys have to fit what we're doing. We got our guys. He said Jahmyr Gibbs is not a running back. He's a elite weapon. Okay? I tried to tell you that we were not going to get Jalen Carter. He did not fit what we were trying to do. Brad Holmes, the Detroit Lions are about, we're about humility. We're about from the dirt. We're not about ourselves. We're about the team. And I knew that we weren't going to take this guy. Okay? So start listening. I'm not saying just be gullible with other just YouTubers. But I get up. I talk about this team. I go to bed. I'm talking about this team. I talk about this team every single day. The only person I don't talk to the team about on a regular basis is my wife. That's it. That's it. I'm yapping about the Detroit Lions all day, every day. And my son. I don't talk to him about it either. He don't care nothing about football. Good for him. But when it comes to what the Detroit Lions are doing, and I give them an A draft. And you know why I give them an A draft? Because Brad Holmes didn't give a rat's behind or its tail about who you wanted in the NFL draft. What makes this a failure? Because Jahmyr Gibbs was rated a second-round talent? Let me tell you something about Mr. Gibbs. Mr. Gibbs is going to give you something you haven't seen since Javit Best. I'm going to make a bold prediction. The Detroit Lions will have an 80-yard plus, 75-yard plus run this year, and it will be by Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is an elite weapon. He is way, way ahead of DeAndre Swift. The Detroit Lions have a pattern, and that pattern involves getting guys that they want. If Brad Holmes did what you wanted him to do, he wouldn't be a GM worth 2 cents. This guy painted himself as the villain and is okay with it, and I can roll with that. Holmes did say we have no idea who they were going to draft. Nick, he did say that, but for some reason, Detroit Lions fans are going crazy. Because who are you to say what round these people should have been taken in? You are not a scout. Who cares what grade you have on him? Who are you? Who am I? I'm a nobody. You think Brad Holmes cares what Detroit Lions Syndicate thinks about? He's in charge of this team. He gets fired if they fail. He gets the praise if they succeed. And outside of a few picks that have not panned out, Ife Melifonwu, Levi Onwuzurike, those two guys, they on the chopping block. Outside of those two picks, we don't have a Brad Kaya on this team. We don't have a Jake Ruddock on this team. We don't have a Tease Tabor on this team. We don't have a Jelani Tavai on this team. We don't have an Austin Bryant on this team. I can go on and on and on. This guy is the same guy who let Kenny Galladay walk. Let Brad Holmes do what he was paid to do. Sheila has gotten out of his way. She brought in the proper team. Let them do what they were paid to do, which is bring winners to the city of Detroit. I told you we weren't going to get Carter, and we didn't. His number one target was Will Anderson. He was not, and here's even better. Listen to what I'm about to tell you, okay? I promise you, based on the character and the play of Will Anderson, Lord Hammer, Will Anderson Jr. Will Anderson Jr. was the Detroit Lions' number one target. He was the number one target. Brad Holmes, let me ask y'all a question because I want to know how y'all feel about this. The Houston Texans, I got to applaud them. Man, because they got their cake and they eat it. They eat it, man. Now, let's say I love me some chocolate cake. Chocolate first, lemon second. I'm a sucker for those two cakes, man. Anything lemon, anything chocolate, I have a hard time saying no, okay? But let me ask you this. Shout out to the Houston Texans. They got their franchise quarterback, which I told you they were going to do, and they got the dude that was, the best offensive, the best defensive player, hands down. Killed him, okay? But let me ask you this. They gave up a 2024 first-round pick. They gave up, I want to say, about 3 picks, and they moved back 9 spots, or they moved up 9 spots. If Brad Holmes trades away next year's first for Will Anderson Jr., if he gave away what the Houston Texans gave away, how do you feel? Be honest, because this is safe space. How would you feel if Will Anderson Jr., we traded up from 6 to 2, and we gave up a little bit less than the Houston Texans? How would you feel? Count Buffalo says, I don't think Will Anderson is going to have more sacks than James Houston. Very possible. Hunt You says Witherspoon was Brad Holmes' #1 target, but Seattle ruined that. And you know, I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe that at all. Y'all was convinced by that Devin Witherspoon was his #1 target. But remind me again, where did we take a cornerback at in the draft? So let me get this straight. If Devin Witherspoon was his #1 target, why didn't we take a cornerback in the draft? We didn't take a cornerback in the draft. We took one in undrafted free agency. So it was Devin Witherspoon or no one. I disagree with that totally. But you can believe that. That's cool. Because we all have our opinion. I think his #1 target was Will Anderson Jr. After that, it was over. ADG says, I love that Brad Holmes doesn't chase names. No, he doesn't. He chases character. And that's why Will Anderson Jr. would have been on this team. Not only is he a dog, he fits what we're trying to do. Okay, Hunt You. You always coming in here starting trouble, my man. We took Brian Branch several picks later, and he is a safety, not a cornerback. So leave it in the comments below. How do you feel after this draft? Y'all was ready to rip his head apart. I'm talking about off with his head after day 1. And I was chilling. Oh, let me say this, by the way, before we end this segment. All y'all that was flapping, let me ask you a question, because you know what? We'll save that for a new segment. Let me know what you think in the comments below.